Am I the asshole for kicking my 3 sisters out of my wedding after they came with their kids? My wife and I got married 2 weeks ago. We wanted a child-free wedding, so we've let everyone know, my family, in-laws, friends and relatives, and everyone was okay with it. Except for my family. I have 3 sisters, all with kids from 210. My mom said it was illogical to not allow kids since, 1. This never happened in the family, and 2. My sisters live towns away, so the kids can't be left alone. After a lot of arguing and others getting involved, I stood my ground and they agreed to not bring kids. At the wedding no one brought kids. My parents and aunts were already there. But then I saw my 2 sisters arriving with their kids. I immediately went to ask what's the deal. They began arguing with me when I said I won't be letting them in with the kids. I saw my older sister came with her kids in the car. I was pissed. I asked why they decided to go against the rule and bring kids. My mom started yelling at me when I told my sisters they weren't allowed in with the kids. Everyone was yelling at me. I had to get the security involved to make them leave. My parents and aunt left shortly after. They were so pissed at me. I got nasty texts later and my cousin posted about my shitty wedding on FB. Days later, I've gathered the family and explained that what they did was wrong. I asked if I allowed my sisters with their kids, what message does that send to my in-laws and friends who wanted to bring kids but they couldn't? My sisters argued with me and it turned out my mom told them to bring their kids and she'd deal with me later. I told them they could have arranged for a babysitter, but my mom said they wanted to celebrate as a whole family. Said that I ruined my own wedding by making a scene. And everyone will always remember my wedding as a disaster, a shitshow because of mine and my wife's child-free bull. They said the only way to fix it is to have another wedding party and include everyone, especially kids. I called them unreasonable. I asked Mom where TF she got the nerve to even demand that. They blamed my wife and claimed it was deliberate. I left. They started talking to my wife, trying to convince her that they don't approve of what happened and that they're giving us the chance to fix the situation, otherwise the relationship is damaged. This caused me a headache and I don't think what I did was wrong. I just wanted them to have some respect for my wife and her family. Not the asshole. Your wedding, you set the rules and the guest list. Kids weren't on it. They broke the rules intentionally and they suffered the consequences. Stand your ground. Not the asshole, and your family is massively shitty. I'm betting this isn't the first time they've tried to bully you to get their way. Tell them to pound sand. Not the asshole. 1. It is your day and therefore, your rules. 2. Your sisters had plenty of time to arrange alternative childcare arrangements. I'm assuming this isn't something you sprung on them. 3. You have now set a precedent for letting your family know that they cannot run roughshod over you. 4. You're right. It would have been unfair to those that had to leave their kids behind. Not the asshole. You asked them beforehand to not bring kids and they did anyway. Also, kids count as regular guests for weddings and it's not cool to bring people that's not invited, especially when you have to pay per person for food, chairs, etc. Not the asshole. How the fuck did they come to the conclusion that it was your wife's fault? It was your mother who overstepped boundaries and acted as though she could give that permission. Not the asshole. I have 5 children. My cousin wanted a child-free wedding. I did not get mad or upset or demand they be allowed to come. However, when I showed up and saw dozens of other children running around, I did feel very upset. It still bothers me to this day. Not the asshole. Your mum and sisters are amazingly horrible. How is it that your mum basically contradicted your requests and your sisters don't care too? Getting security to escort them out is humiliating for everyone, and they have now made your special day a horrible one. Loudly crying. I'm sorry for you. You set boundaries, they crossed them. Now, there are consequences and they are trying to define the parameters, rewrite the narrative. Stick to your guns. They'll either get in line or you'll leave them behind. Not the asshole. That final line, they blamed my wife, says everything about who your family are as people. They believe that they have you beaten down and controlled, so any defiance of their wishes must stem from your wife, not your own preferences. Not the asshole. Good for you for standing for your own principles. Continue to stand your ground, or this will only get worse. Everyone sucks here honestly. I've been to a dozen weddings and yet the only reason I even know that child-free weddings exist is because of Reddit. I know everyone here is all about, your wedding your rules. But I really think that sometimes it's just unreasonable. I know a very bad stance here on Reddit. Especially if they live in a different city and would need to leave them overnight, depends on how old the kids are. I think that it is okay to say that you would prefer everyone to come without their kids but to ban them from the wedding just because they brought them is ridiculous. Of course what your mother, and sisters, did was absolutely uncalled for, especially since she knew your hard stance on the topic. Yes, it's your day, and you can do whatever you want. But if all of your siblings have kids, you are basically giving them the big middle finger, telling them they aren't allowed unless they want to make overnight arrangements for the kids, or find childcare in a new place. I think the best route would have been to find someone who could watch all of the kids during the ceremony and reception. I mean, you're pissed at your sisters for bringing the kids, when your mother was the one who told them to. This was just a shitty way to handle a child-free wedding all around. Not the asshole. You laid down the ground rules ahead of time, it's your wedding, and you were very clear about having no children. Your family sounds entitled, and they have no right to be. You're an adult. Your mother shouldn't think she can handle you. There is nothing to handle, because you are not a child. You're setting boundaries. Your mother and sisters aren't going to like it, but what you're doing is the right thing to do. You have to stick with it, and you need to continue to lay down and hold your boundaries because, if you don't, you're going to hurt the family you're now starting. You didn't do anything wrong, and, if your mother and sisters can't deal with that, that's on them, not you. Not the asshole. Your family acted abhorrently. I've been to several child-free weddings and I've always thought it was a good idea. Unless you cater to the children, it's really no fun for them anyway. Your mom needs to learn boundaries. You're married now, and your wife is your family. Don't give in. They damaged the relationship, not you. Otherwise the relationship is damaged. What a lovely and thoughtful wedding gift. Not the asshole. Take advantage of this opportunity you've been given. Not the asshole. They did that deliberately to get their way and your mother encouraged them. Very entitled and manipulative to try to say it's your fault and you need to fix what they did wrong. Also, I am sure no one else feels that way about the wedding, they're just being assholes. I think these are relationships that could use some damage. These people don't respect you or your wife, your mother takes the cake but your sisters aren't far behind. The idea that they could do what they wanted regardless of your rules and now they're giving you a chance, by requiring you to have a do-over. GTFO. Your family is manipulative and it sounds like it's time for some distance. Not the asshole. As always, this sub is just looking at the situation from OP's POV and only taking the facts that he has stated as the full account, and not taking the real world into account. Your family are the asshole because they were sneaky and went against your wishes, creating a scene and now probably a rift in the family. You're the asshole because they're not just you sisters' kids, they're also your nieces and nephews. Not once in the whole thread did you refer to them as your nieces and nephews. What the fuck is up with that? And you also had your family escorted away by security. You're like 70% the asshole here. I think most families have that asshole uncle, and I think as your nieces and nephews. Sorry, your sister's kids, are going to consider you their asshole uncle. Everyone sucks here. I feel bad for the kids that arrived at a family event only to be turned away and told they aren't wanted. A child-free event was totally your decision but you had to know there would be pushback. Many people consider their kids a big part of the family and wouldn't want to attend a family event where their kids are excluded. I understand a 1-year-old that doesn't remember the event but a 10-year-old kid would definitely remember and wonder why they weren't wanted. It's terrible they didn't respect your boundaries and it sounds like you all have very different boundaries and priorities. They were completely in the wrong for showing up after being told not to bring them. However, deliberately excluding older kids like this is also rather uncool. Not the asshole, but your mum is to blame here, she is the cause of this conflict. Guessing she doesn't like your wife. The more I read about child-free wedding in this subreddit, the more I understand that this is the best firestarter for a shitshow in which Sorry dude. Your mom sucks and your sisters suck for obvious reasons. I believe you suck for the way you handled things. Not the asshole. Let me get this right. At your and your wife's wedding, a day about you, your family, who weren't getting married, decided to go against your direct wishes. And then had the audacity to blame you and guilt trip your wife? Honestly, I'd raise their damaged relationship and go no contact. They made this mess, they need to sleep in it. Not the asshole. You made it clear it was a kids-free wedding and they had advance warning of it. People have child-free weddings all time. Your sisters and mom did not respect you or your wishes and deserved to be kicked out. Not the asshole. But question, are your sisters with kids married? Couldn't the kids have been left with their dads, uncles in the hotel? The guys take turns staying with the kids for a while. Not the asshole. Your wedding, your rules. They don't get to shit on your choices and be mad about you calling them out and sticking to your guns. And no, you didn't ruin your wedding. They did with all of that entitlement. The only thing you did wrong, in their eyes, of course, is that you didn't let them walk all over you and apologize if one of them tripped. Not the asshole, they had plenty of notice to find someone to watch their kids. No kids means no kids. If you make an exception for one or two people, you might as well make it for everyone. Your wedding, your rules. They should have respected that. Not the asshole. No is a complete sentence. That your mother thinks it doesn't apply to her and your sisters is the problem. They destroyed the relationship, not you. Not the asshole. I don't have children of my own but I am a teacher. Kids can be a joy but they can also be a pain. I legit don't understand why so many parents insist on doing every single thing with their children. From the outside it seems like it'd be a lot more enjoyable to have a little bit of time for yourself. Hey, I get why people want child-free weddings even though as a parent I would read that as I'm not actually welcome and ultimately probably wouldn't go. But while I generally disagree with your choice, it was your choice to make. They could have been mad all they wanted. They could have skipped the event. But showing up with kids anyway and making a whole scene puts them firmly into asshole territory. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I love how they think you have to make it up to them. When I was 2 or 3, my parents took me to my uncle and aunt's wedding. I cried because I didn't get to catch the bouquet. I didn't like the food, and I got sick and barfed and my parents had to take me and my 2 older siblings home early. My brother was 5 or 6 and was miserable and acting it out. He wanted my parents to take us home. Then he got mad that I was the reason we were going home, so he tried to refuse to leave. Not to say that's how all kids at weddings are, but I assume this is an example of what many people are trying to avoid with child-free events. Not the asshole. Kids are unpredictable because they're still growing and developing and figuring out life. It's not their fault, but accommodating them isn't always possible. Your wedding, your rules. Not the asshole. Your mother and sisters ruined the day with their entitlement, with your mother being the prime instigator. Good for you for standing your ground. And do not give in to their ridiculous demands that you have another ceremony. If they want a party especially for the kids, tell them to book a party room at Chuck E. Cheese's. Breeder entitlement is exhausting as hell. I'd be going LC with them going forward if I were you. Not the asshole. A child-free wedding means just that, a child-free wedding. The fact that your family didn't respect your decision makes them the asshole in this situation, not you. My Sil would do exactly as your sisters did, bring the kids anyway. What is he gonna do? Me and everyone else is tired of it. The entitlement she wields everywhere she goes is beyond draining. You can't just go through life being a rude asshole and think people aren't gonna call you on it or make you face the consequences. If I were you, I wouldn't have a second wedding. You already put your effort into the wedding you had. Tough tomatoes if everyone didn't like it. Not the asshole. I'm a mom, and when someone says kid-free, and I know it, I plan accordingly. My nephew is getting married in a month. His youngest sibling is 10. We are an extremely large family. His wife is an only child. Before they set a date they came to us and asked for a child-free wedding, setting the age limit at 15 excluding his own siblings. We are big, Irish, and like to party, he marrying into a small conservative New England family. We all have kids under 15, but after realizing what he wanted we made plans. Respect goes both ways. What they did was extremely disrespectful. And now they are being unreasonable. I wish you hadn't left your wife alone with them, she didn't deserve that. Not the asshole. Honestly, if it was me, as soon as I saw the kids I would have texted my sisters and told them to leave and that I'm sending security. I would send security, the not worry my head one bit more about it on my wedding day. If my family members asked about it I would just say it's my wedding day, and if they are mad they can leave, and if they try to argue to me about it again they will leave via security. If it's your wedding day, it's your wedding day, just be happy, and if there are problems just make said person leave. Info. Does you family not understand that your reception would have a set number of chairs and meals available? Where did they expect the kids to sit? Would you have even had food for them to eat? Not the asshole. Everyone will always remember that your family made a spectacle and that you and your wife stood together as a unit and kept your word. The relationship was damaged the second your mother and sisters conspired behind your back to disrespect you, your wife, and the rest of your friends and family. Their uncivilized behavior put a mar on your day, but I assume it still went off much better without them than with them. Not the asshole. They A. Ignores your clear request. B. Decides on their own that they wanted to celebrate as a family, without asking you what you wanted, and C. Refused to face their error and leave, rather than raising it to the call security level. Not the asshole. Your mother shouldn't have lied to your sisters, so your mother is the biggest asshole, but your sisters are assholes too. It's ridiculous for them to think they're entitled to your wedding. Go and see on them until they stop acting entitled. Not the asshole. Your wedding, your rules. Dude, why would you even want to bring your kids to a wedding? I can tell you, as a kid I went to a few weddings and I found them to be horribly boring. Bored kids are badly behaved kids. Not the asshole. They are giving you the chance to fix this? After they stomped all over your boundaries? Just think about how that will play out for the next 50 years. Bye-bye. Not the asshole. You were clear about your requirements and your family members chose to blatantly disregard what you asked for, thus ruining your special day. They should be ashamed and should be apologizing to you. You organized this day to be perfect as possible. It would happen perfectly as long as the rules are followed that you suggested. It isn't hard to get someone to watch some kids for a few hours. I don't see why it was such an issue for them. Not the asshole. I hate weddings, but they got way better after I had a kid and could go enjoy an evening without him, since all of my friends have had kid-free weddings. I don't get the appeal of bringing kids, and if I were to get married, there are 3 kids I would let come. 1 because he's mine and 2 because they would be on the wedding. You're not the asshole, your family are the a-holes. The worst part no one is really mentioning is that they originally agreed to not bring their kids and your mom went behind your back to tell them to bring them anyway? That's incredibly shitty. They obviously had no respect for your big day and want you to just have another wedding? The mental gymnastics here is crazy. The money spent on extra plates, seats was already mentioned, but that's a large factor too. Not the asshole. You are the asshole. I'm planning a wedding and while I'd love for it to be kid-free, it means that it wouldn't feasible for most of our family members to come. So I hired an event sitter service for a few $100. The parents can drop them off with the sitters and we can have an adult party. Not the asshole. It's absolutely astounding how often I see stories of families members disregarding people's wishes in situations like this. Super proud of you for standing your ground. Not the asshole. You made it perfectly clear that it was a child-free wedding. Your mom and sisters deliberately ignored your wishes, went behind your back, and tried to manipulate you, strongarm you, into allowing their kids into your wedding. It's your damn wedding and you get to decide whether it's child-free or not. Not the asshole. Your wedding, your rules. You communicated them clearly and early. Everyone else was able to follow it, so no, you guys did everything right here.